I know that I give Trello Power-Ups a little bit of grief here on the channel, and that's only because of the fact that most of them can't be accessed or used in any way from the mobile app. And if you've been around for a while, or if you've worked with me personally, you know how much I personally rely on the Trello mobile app for my process. It is how I get my reminders. It's how I stay on top of things and stick with new habits, especially. So for me, when a tool that is super cool on desktop can't translate into my hand, into my phone, well, then it becomes kind of unusable. The thing is, I found a power up that's been around for a while and I knew about it, but I had absolutely no idea how awesome it actually is. So that's what I'm going to be showing you in this video. My favorite new power up. It's called Amazing Fields. But before we dive into this, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a tutorial or upload. All right, let's take a look at this truly amazing power up, pun intended. Okay, so like I said, I knew about Amazing Fields before this. This is one of those power-ups that there was this one and there was another one, I want to say it's called Smart Fields, something like that, that I had used in the past as an alternative to having premium and having access to custom fields. It was for me not the perfect solution, but a good workaround. And the reason I say it wasn't a perfect solution isn't because the fields themselves weren't capable of doing what I needed them to do. They were, but they couldn't be used in automation. Or so I thought. So let me explain just briefly, high level, how this went down. I was working with one of my VIP clients and they needed a bunch of custom fields. They're doing a full-on customer onboarding process and just a lot of data that they needed to be able to track. And so I was building out their board. I was setting up all these custom fields, and it was driving me crazy how cluttered and messy their cards were looking. I mean, we needed to collect all this data and we didn't want it to be in the description, but it was just like a block of fields. And I wasn't even like a third of the way done, I think, with the fields that I was going to be creating. And I was just like, ugh, if I were one of your team coming in and using this board, I would be incredibly overwhelmed like the second that I opened it. And my first thought was to go to my Trello buddies in the Atlassian Champions community, one of whom had created that awesome Google Chrome extension, which I featured here on the channel like a month ago, maybe, where you can collapse checklists and things like even when they're not completed items yet. I'll post a link to that up above if you missed it. But I was like, I didn't even throw it out as a question like, hey, is there a way to do XYZ? I just put it out there because I thought I knew that there wasn't. And so I just put it out there as like, oh man, if you could create a Chrome extension that would let me format how custom fields fit onto the card, you know, like tabs or sections or something, right? And the overwhelming response was Amazing Fields. And I was like, wait, what? Like Amazing Fields is just an alternative to custom fields, right? And they were like, oh, no. And let me just tell you, no, it's not. I mean, yes, it is to a point, but now that I'm using it, it is so much more, so much more. Okay, so let's go in and add this power up first, and then I'll start telling you some of the like details, okay? So again, quick reminder, if you've never set up or added a power up to your board, you go up here to power ups. You're going to add power ups. You're going to come here into the power ups catalog where you're going to find all kinds of amazing stuff in here, but we're going to search specifically for Amazing Fields, and we're going to click on that and we're going to hit add. So just to start out with, Amazing Fields is a free power up and it's going to drop you straight into the field builder. So hold for 1 second. So it is a free power up. You get, I want to say 10 fields that you can create that you can use on multiple boards, but it's 10, I believe 10 across your entire account. So it's not like you can create 10 fields per board. I'm pretty sure. And if I'm wrong here, somebody from the Trello community let me know, or Alan, who is the creator of this Power Up, if you see this video and I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. But that's my understanding, is that it's 10 fields in your Amazing Fields account, but you can use them on as many boards as you want, basically. And it is important to note that when we're talking about fields, this is including, so we've got our basic fields here, which is a text field, checkbox, dropdown. We'll talk about that in a second. Number field, date time field, and progress bar. So with the exception of progress bar, these are basically what types of fields you can create with custom fields. The asterisk there is in the drop-down field. There is a way in Amazing Field that you can do a multi-select drop-down field, which is really cool. So then you also have advanced fields. And these are card references, like if you're linking the card to like another card, which you can do, again, in just regular Trello. You can link cards to cards, but there is a way to actually do it with their fields, which actually I haven't tried yet. So maybe we'll try that together. And then field headers, this is so if you want to organize that section, you can kind of group them into sections. But even more importantly is the section tabs. And that's so that you can actually like have separate tabs within the same card so that you don't have to see all your fields at once. Okay. And that was the gateway drug for me coming into Amazing Fields. But I do want to point out that these fields do count as one of your 10 fields. So if you're using the free version of it and you're only getting 10 fields, just keep in mind that those tabs, headers, all of that, it all counts as a field, okay? And then they also give you, there's a lot of great like support, like knowledge articles and things like that with this Power Up, including example fields where they show you how to make certain kinds of fields, like a certain variation or certain use case for one of the basic fields. And then sample boards where you can literally see entire boards built out using Amazing Fields. They're not custom to you, but you could go in, it'll give you kind of like a template, like a starting point, and then you could customize even further. So then you do have the ability to become a supporter. And so this is one of those things where it's not necessarily a monthly fee. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It all depends on the Power Up. When you become a supporter, you then open things up and you are now able to create as many fields as you want. And I can attest that I have not hit the limit yet and I have been creating fields like crazy. But there's so much more that comes into all that. Let's just get in there and start building some stuff, okay? So we're going to create, before we do any of that, we're going to create a test list. Let's see. Ideas, like specific use cases are not coming to mind right now, but let's do it like a client tracker, since we were just doing that recently here on the channel. And this way we can see like custom information that you might want to track for particular clients that you're onboarding, or customers, like orders that you're tracking through your system, whatever that might be. So we're just going to go ahead and do client name. And so as of right now, this is a very standard card. There's nothing going on here. You can see there's a section here where our Amazing Fields are going to show up. We could go into the Power Up to configure our fields right here. But otherwise, this card looks very standard, very normal right now. There's also an extra little thing I need to show you. So let's just get into it. You can tell I'm maybe a little excited about this, right? So we go into Amazing Fields, and I will touch on what we just saw for a split second there in a minute. We're going to add some fields. So we can go ahead and add in a text field. Let's say we've already got our client name in the name of the card, so we don't need to worry about that. But let's say we want to have a client email address, okay? So we're going to come in here. We've created our text field. We're going to rename our field. So we'll just say email. And then editor style, we only need this to be single line because an email is going to be short. So we'll do that. We can show the card value on the front. We'll show the field name or the field value on the front of the card. And remember, this is one of those times where it seems a little bit backwards. The front of the card is what you see when the card is closed. The back of the card is what you see when the card is open. So you will see all of these fields by default on the back of the card. But if you want to see it on the front of the card when the card is closed, then you would be checking these boxes. But I'm going to uncheck them for right now. We can also, it looks like they've got some beta going on here for being able to track history. Obviously, if you are working on these types of things with a team, you might want to track history. And what that means is when somebody goes in and changes the value in a field, you want to be able to see who did it and when, right? If it's just you, I mean, that still could be useful, I suppose, if you want to see when you did it, but you obviously know it was you. And then you have the ability to hide this field on new cards by default. So I'm not going to show that right now because I'm working under the assumption that we need all of the fields that we're looking at. But I do like this ability to not show the field all the time, because then, we can kind of bring it in with some conditional formatting if you are one of the supporters. Okay. We've also got some help text we can put in if we're creating fields and our team is going to be using them. And we could put in placeholder text, like if you wanted to put something like at gmail.com, just in case somebody doesn't remember what an email address looks like. You know what I mean? We could attach the single card to the field. Honestly, I have not used this functionality yet. So let me see. Show the field on only one card. Oh, hold please. I didn't even realize it was this. You could be this specific. Show the field on only one card. This can be used to make formulas calculate summary values. That's cool. But because I just saw this for the first time, or just paid attention to it for the first time, I'm not going to go too deep into that because I don't know exactly how I would use that yet. But you also have the ability to format how this is going to appear on the back of the card. So how much space do you want it to take up? So I'm having a tendency to kind of go back and forth between third width and half width, depending on what it is that I'm adding, what the data is that I'm tracking. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead with half width. And then you can determine whether or not the field label is on the top of the value or on the left or on the right. So I think I've been doing left for most of the ones I've been doing. And then you have the ability to do different colors based on different values. This is maybe not so important for something like an email address, but if you're tracking like a status or a value for a numerical value for something, if something is, less than 5, you might want it to be red. If it's more than 10, you might want it to be green, right? Like things like that. So you can add conditional color rules here, or like as it's saying here. So you could make it like, for example, let's say if it's empty, we're going to go ahead and make it red, like, hey, why is there no email address here, right? Because it's not a required field. Like, this is kind of a way of making something appear as a required field. And that is one thing I did notice here, is that there is no ability to make something required, meaning that they can't save the card without filling something into that field. And I think that has more to do with limitations in Trello, that it auto saves. And so it doesn't really work the same way. So doing something like this and making it red when it's empty would be a great way for it to stand out as like, hey, you need to fill in an email address. Okay. So then if you are a supporter, so all of that we just looked at is all available in your 10 free fields in the free account. If you are a supporter, you have additional functionality, and this is where the power really comes in, okay? So you have the ability to calculate field values using formulas. He has given us all kinds of documentation on formulas within Amazing Fields, function reference, all that stuff. I'm not going to go into detail on that because he already did. And by he, I mean Alan, the creator of this power-up. So I'm not going to go into detail there. Just know that it's there as a guide if you need it. So you would check this box and then you would go ahead and add your formula so you can pull in certain fields. In this case, I've only created one field so far, so there's nothing for me to pull in yet. But you'd be able to create a formula here and then you can test it on a test card. And see, this is how I've been using the visibility thing, is you can compute visibility using a formula in the same kind of way. It's like a conditional formatting, so that you say, for example, if there is data, if the box for, let's say we had a list of items that might be needed on a particular card. So we say, like, if the other box is checked, then make the other text box appear so that now somebody can fill in that value. If the other checkbox is not checked, then the other text field would not appear, and it kind of saves space and keeps your card from getting cluttered. So, I mean, already, like, is your mind blown? Because this is insane. Then he has ways that you can add in like different patterns. Like, for example, this is an email. So we're going to say this should format like an email. And then we have different permissions here. So this is based on who is able to view these fields and who is able to edit this field. So we can actually kind of hide them based on somebody's visibility to the board. But keep in mind, this is not going to be card specific. This is more of a way, in my opinion, to keep observers, people who are not interacting with this information, just have visibility to it, from seeing things that might be a little more confidential. But the reality is that if anybody that's a member on this board is going to need to be able to input into that field, then you're not going to really be able to limit it much, because, I mean, then that means that they wouldn't be able to do their job. And so this I see as super helpful if you have people coming in on read only. You can hide certain things, but for people who are interacting daily with this information, I feel like that would be not super helpful. So this is like view and then edit. But here's where my mind was blown when I saw this, because I still, even when my Trello friends were like, amazing fields, I was like, yeah, but what if I need to use, like, what if I want to automate something based on a value in a field? Like, what if I want to be able to trigger and say, well, hey, if this gets checked, notify this person or whatever. And they said, oh, you can. Not because amazing fields can be used in automation, but because Alan was smart enough to set up amazing fields so that they can actually link with, or as he called it, wrap with a custom field, a true custom field. So yes, this does mean that you have to have access to custom fields in Trello. You need to be in a standard or premium or above workspace, but you can choose an existing or create a custom field right here and wrap the data together. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that with email right now. And one more thing we're going to do before I show this on the card itself is I'm going to add one more field. I'm going to do an advanced field and show you how the tabs work. Okay, so we're going to add a tab. I'm going to actually drag it up because the tab is going to be above all the fields that exist on that tab. So you're going to go ahead and you can name your tab. So let's go ahead and say contact info. And again, you can hide this if you need to by default, or determine whether or not it's visible, give it conditional formulas in order to determine if it's visible or not. But there's one last thing before we go into the other view and go look at the card real quick that I want to show you. So we've got our board settings and utilities. And right here is where we see what that section, what that whole section on the card was called. When we looked at it really, really quickly, you saw it was called Amazing Fields. Like most power-ups, you have it's named whatever it was named by the person who created it. But you can change it. So I can say Tech Savvy, Academy. And that's what that section will be called now. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go and look at our boards. I'm going to refresh really quick. Just not that you need to do that, but I just did something behind the scenes I need to make sure it takes effect before I show you guys. So we're going to go ahead and open our card. And we can see two things here. We can see our standard custom fields section that has that email field that we created. And we can see our amazing fields section, which is our custom fields that we just created, our amazing field, and it was renamed Tech Savvy Academy like I asked it to. So here's where you say to me, okay, well, I don't want to see my fields twice. Like, why would I want to see my fields twice? That's super annoying. That's super cluttered. Yes, you're exactly right. And Alan thought of that too. So he's got a Chrome extension. That's what I was just doing the magic behind the scenes, where you can actually hide custom fields that have been synced with an amazing field. So as of right now, you can see we're seeing both of them. But when I come over to my extensions and I turn this extension on, and I'm going to come back here and we're going to go ahead and refresh the page again so that now you can see what it looks like when that extension is turned on. So now we don't see the custom fields anymore. Okay, we only see our amazing fields. And you can tell here that this is red. Why is this red? Because it's technically empty. We had put some placeholder data in there, which is why we see some information. But now we click into it, we can see, oh yeah, that's empty. And so we're going to go ahead and say, we're going to go ahead and fill in our email address. Oops. Okay. Oh my goodness. I can never type when you guys are watching. Okay. So now we've filled in the email address and there it is. All right. So just to show you that they are syncing, we're going to real quick. I just went over and turned off that extension again so that you can see both fields and see that the data is now going to live in both fields. Okay. So here's our amazing field and here's our custom field. Okay. Okay. Now let's just turn that off again because it's super annoying. That's why he created that, right? So you can also see that we have a tab header here, but because we didn't make any other tabs, you can't really tell what's going on there. So let's go in real quick and I'm going to try not to get sidetracked and go to things that I'm not ready to go to. But we're going to go ahead and add another advanced field. Let's add another section tab. I'm going to drag it down again because remember, the fields that appear on that tab are going to be like right underneath the tab. So on this new one, I'm going to say, let's see, I'm just going to go with process flow because my brain's not thinking cleverly right now. We're going to say process flow, and then in here is where I'm going to put like a status, right? So I'm going to do a drop-down field, and I'm going to say client status. And from here, I'm going to say new, scheduled, completed. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not very creative right now. But now I can choose different colors for these things. So I've got blue, I've got orange for scheduled, and I've got green for completed. Okay. And again, we can show our card values and or names on the front of the card. So I'm not going to show the name because we don't need to see that it says client status. It's obvious by the choices, right? So I'm going to check off this box right here. I'm going to come in here and I'm actually going to make this one, let's do a third width actually, because we don't need it to take up a ton of space. And again, we'll put the label on the left. And then I'm going to go ahead and create that wrapped custom field again. So now when we go back and look at our card, we're going to see that we now have two tabs. We have our contact info where we might have email, phone number, Instagram handle, whatever, like stuff here. And then we can come over here to our process flow where we're going to have things like our client status, right? So now we can see here client new, and I can see that on the front as well, new, right? But because it's tied to a custom field, if I wanted to set up an automation workflow where I say, okay, so I've got my new clients here, but when a client is scheduled, I want them to move to my scheduled list. So let's create a scheduled list. And then I'm going to come in here to regular old automation, just what you're used to. We're going to go to rules. We're going to set up an automation that is triggered based off of a custom field. Because again, we're wrapped with a real custom field. So we're going to go to fields and we're going to say when custom field client status is set to scheduled, and that's going to be our trigger. Then we're going to say move to the top of the list scheduled. And I'm going to hit that plus sign. Okay. And we can, of course, always do the reverse automation as well. So if you have people on your team who are more of the drag and droppers versus the ones who like to actually change the values of the fields, you can make sure that it stays synced no matter which one they choose. Okay. But let's just come in here to our client board, our client card, I should say. We're going to go into process flow and we're going to switch this field over to scheduled. And we're going to watch our card move. And there it goes. So it allows you to have this total customization of how your card looks, how your data is formatted in the card, but it still gives you the ability to do all the same kind of automation and things like that that you're used to doing. There's one process setup that I'm doing for one of my clients, not even the same one that I was telling you about a minute ago that I originally found this Power-Up because of. It's a different client who needed a very complicated and custom setup that is cross-board and using custom fields and stuff like this. And it's a really cool setup. So when we're done, I'm actually going to ask him if I can feature his board for my members here on the channel because it's not even a board. It's like a whole set of boards. It's a whole setup. It's really cool. And it would totally not be possible without Amazing Fields. So I'm really excited about that. The last couple of things I want to talk about here, and I'm still scratching the surface, like there's a lot more to know about Amazing Fields, but this is just to like wet your whistle about it. So because we're actually using custom fields when we wrap our Amazing Field with a custom field, it means that we sort of kind of get access to this on mobile, because now our custom fields, because we don't have the Chrome extension on our mobile app, we see our custom fields, even though we don't see our Amazing Fields. So do we have the same ability to interact with them? Not necessarily. And yes, it's going to be a massive dump of fields now, the way it would have been if we didn't have Amazing Fields in the first place. But if it's just a quick visibility thing, your data is there and it is in the palm of your hand like you need it, which is, again, my biggest complaint about power-ups. Which, let me just give the caveat of saying that it's not the people creating the power-ups that is making it so that you can't use it on mobile. It's Trello doing that. I don't entirely know what their reasoning is for that, but they have not really given that ability to the Power-Up developers to create things that are mobile friendly in their app. I really wish they would, because there's a lot of really cool functionality that they're giving us in these Power-Ups that it would be so awesome to be able to use on mobile. So Trello, if you're seeing this video, just think about it, okay? Because it would be so helpful. I feel like it's such a limitation not having access to all of our Power-Up stuff when we're on our mobile device. But one last thing that you have probably seen a couple times as I've clicked in here to the Amazing Fields Power-Up is that you have the ability to go into table view and actually export your entire like database here, basically. And this is really cool because yes, if you have Trello Premium, you're able to export a CSV file of your boards, but not everybody has that. And so even if you're at the standard level and you're using Amazing Fields tied with custom fields and all that stuff and doing all these things, but you're not all the way at the premium level in Trello where you can export these boards basically right here. And you can even limit which data points come out of it. If you don't need everything, if you don't care about the labels, you don't care about all that stuff, you can really hone in on what you're looking for, which makes this reportable. It's hugely helpful and a great backup tool for yourself as well, in case anything were ever to happen to your Trello data. So now that you've seen what this is capable of and how you can actually even use it on your mobile device, are you going to be going and getting it as well? What is the first thing you're going to do with it? Let me know in the comments. The online tools for your business do not need to be complicated and overwhelming. It's time to let it be easy. I hope that you liked that video, and more importantly, that you found it helpful. And if you did, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel and sharing it with a fellow solopreneur. And make sure that you check out the description for links for how we can connect and maybe even work together.